Evergreen Show, taking your business from seed to sapling to towering giant. With your hosts, best-selling author and business growth experts Noah Fleming and Sean Veltman. This is the only show that gives you proven, pragmatic, and immediately applicable business growth strategies every week in 15 minutes or less. Here's Noah and Sean.
Hey everybody, it's Noah Fleming. Welcome back. This is the Evergreen Show with my co-host, Mr. Sean Veltman. Sean, come on, buddy. Give me the news. Where are you today? What's going on? Give me the scoop.
I am in lovely and frigid Calgary, Alberta. The mountains are gorgeous, but the air is going to tear pieces of my body off. So
frigidly cold everywhere today. Frigidly cold here in Ontario as well. But the sun is shining down on me right now in my office, and good to be back at it here with another episode of the Evergreen Show. So today, Sean, we're going to talk about something pretty cool. Usually we've talked, actually many times, and we've written about this, we've talked about the hierarchy of horrors, which is the great process developed by the folks at FedEx. We love this process. We talk about it a lot. We write about it. We use it with our clients. But it's a little bit scary. And so today you suggested something fantastic in our pre-call discussion where we should talk about the hierarchy of wonders and kind of flip this on its head. So why don't you tell our listeners today what the hierarchy of wonders is about, and then let's jump into it here.
Absolutely. So, as you said, we talk a lot about the hierarchy of horrors. And for those who haven't read our stuff recently or listened to those episodes recently, that is the process of looking at your business from your customer's point of view, or looking at your customer's complaints and figuring out what is causing the most problems. What is causing either the highest dollar value or highest retention problems, or what is annoying that's happening most often that you can fix. And then going through the process of sequentially fixing the most pressing horror down to the least so that you're continuing to get better. And it's a great process. It's the reason that we love it. We write about it so much and we talk about it. But there is a flip side to that is equally as important, and it's something that we do a lot with our clients as well. And we call it the hierarchy of wonders. And it really is just like it sounds. It's a flip. You look at the things that cause the most delight. What leaves the best impression? What makes customers walk out of a transaction with you saying, wow, those guys went above and beyond, and we have to do more business with them.
So let's think about that then. Let's think about the wonders. Let's think about the things that make us great. And like as Sean said, what are the things that make customers come back and want to do business with us again? So I guess if we're looking at it from a process perspective, which is when we do the hierarchy of horrors, we actually give them a process. I think here, the easiest way to do this is to just flip the exercise. Would you agree with that?
I would. Luckily, for most businesses, you're not just getting complaints. You're not just getting people who are writing about what bad experiences they've had with you or calling to tell you how badly you've done. And if that is all you're getting, there's bigger problems than we can address in this episode. But luckily for most businesses, there's also happy notes. And by looking at those and by watching what's actually happening, by talking to your staff about the best interactions they've had, you can start to identify the things that hit the top of the hierarchy of wonders list.
So I'm trying to think of a good example of this in another business. I'm trying to think of, some of the top companies we see out there and what they do really well. Obviously, the simple ones come to mind, like Amazon, right? Amazon, you are always delighted when, first of all, they always ship fast, but we're more delighted when they ship in excess of fast, meaning, you place the order and holy cow, you wake up the next morning and the thing's already on its way. So there's this element, I guess I don't want to call it surprise and delight because I kind of hate that terminology, but there's this element there of excitement in the experience that's happening. And so now I'm trying to think about ways we can apply this to other clients, let's say B2B manufacturers or anybody else in that space, in things that they could be doing that really creates this feeling of wonder. And I guess it's not a matter, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, it's not a matter of saying, what could you be doing? It's a matter of just looking at what are you already doing that's creating those feelings and identifying them, and then saying, okay, how can we double down here? Right? If this is something that our clients really like, are we ensuring that all our clients are privy to this type of benefit or this experience? Or what can we make sure to do that this becomes part of our ongoing standard process? These are become of our part of our operating procedures. Would you take it a little bit further than that?
Uh, I think that I can certainly add a little bit to that. I like what you said there, and I think that you're right. It's not about blue skying and trying to think about what could we do. It's about looking at what you are doing and how you can invest more resources to make that happen more often. And you've got a great example of this from early in your career when you worked with restaurants and you helped them develop special menus that were only available to their club members. And I think if you talk a little bit about that, we can see how that's a hierarchy of wonders application.
Yeah, so I think, well, actually, now that you've said that, there's two ideas that are coming to me. So first off was absolutely in the service industry, this, to me, all of these things work really easily in the service industry because the application of them is pretty easy to identify. So in this case, for example, we found there were certain things that members of their loyalty programs really liked, like perks and access to items that others couldn't have. And so this became part of their standard operating procedure to always have a menu that anybody that was part of their loyalty club could order off of. But if you were not part of this loyalty club, you could absolutely not order from that menu, no matter what, no exception. So that was pretty cool. I mean, it worked out really well. The other example I'm thinking of was with one of my clients in the guitar manufacturing industry, where we looked at the way customers bought from them, and we found that his customers got really excited. There was this element of wonder about new models coming out. The problem was he would talk about a new model, and, then we would manufacture, let's say, 10 to 12 copies of this model. And then there would be this kind of hard fought slog to sell them, even though the customers expressed interest in this. And so what we did was we just flipped the model and we said, well, look, here's something that's a wonder for our clients. Here's something that they really like. What if we flip the script here? And so we just took a page out of the crowdfunding model, flipped the scenario, and now we said, look, we're only going to make this provided 10 to 12 of you commit, put some money down, and actually, hold yourself accountable that you're going to take advantage of this offer. Well, what happened was, it blew all of us away. This wasn't just a little wonder. It was a huge wonder because first, it essentially doubled the size of the business right away. But second, my client went on from selling, 10 to 12 copies of a new guitar to selling hundreds every time. And so this was a really cool example, I think, of a wonder that we capitalized on. And I think everybody out there listening probably has these types of wonders in their business. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I think one of the things that we're really hitting on here is to be able to understand what it is that people want and what they'll pay for, and in turn what you should be investing in. So in this case, what you talked about there is, in the restaurant case, people wanted the exclusivity. It reminds me a little bit of buying the line bypass upgrades at theme parks like Disney, where you just get to walk right up to the front, or you get to walk by all the regular folks standing in line. And part of the joy of that is certainly to spend less time in lines. But I think if we're honest, another part of the joy is feeling like we're special and walking through and getting that preferential treatment. So finding ways to give preferential treatment to the parts of your business that value it most is an incredibly important exercise. And I think one of the things that everybody should have picked up from what we've talked about today is you don't necessarily need to just add this into your service to everybody. You can create a tier that people pay to get into that allows you to create that preferential treatment. And that is a way to create wonder for those who are going to appreciate it the most.
I think the thing there you said is key. Customers want and clients want to feel special. So the two things that I really like what you said there is, one, you can identify who those customers are, and you can build an offering, a service, a product, whatever it is that they can take advantage of. And we've seen great examples of this, like Amazon Prime and, the restaurant example I gave, or even the guitar option. Customers can buy into these things. Of course, then what you can also do, let's assume you are a heavy industrial B2B manufacturer and you're wondering, well, how do we take advantage of this? Well, again, look at your top clients. You might look at them by top revenue spend. You might look at them by, whatever, but identify them and ask yourself, what are the things or the perks or the little bonuses that they really like? And then how can we make this available to everybody else? Or how can we make this available to maybe just a small segment of customers, but making sure that they all know we can offer this, whether it's we call it the bat line, right? It's the bat line is incredibly important in B2B businesses, especially giving your top customers a way to get support and to get service and to get help when they need it and to get it quickly. So I really like that option. I think there's just the opportunities are endless. The key is identifying them. That to me is the really big answer here.
I think you're bang on there. And just for a little clarity, because I know some listeners might not get the reference to Batline, it's from one of my favorites, the old 1960s Batman show, where there was a phone directly from Batman's cave to Commissioner Gordon, and anytime that phone was picked up, somebody on the other line answered it. And so when we're working with businesses, we suggest that the top clients get a number that no matter what time of day it is, no matter what day of the year it is, if that number is called, it will be answered by a person who can make decisions and who can help them.
So I don't know what it is about old Batman references, but we also talk about the Bentley and the Butler. And the Butler reference comes directly out of two things. First, we often pin that story down with the example of Alfred popping out in the Batcave whenever Batman needed him. But again, I think this is a great example of a hierarchy of wonders in which we use the Bentley and the Butler component of that as an example of the type of experience that cruise ships, for example, have really grabbed onto by the horns, because they recognize that some customers are willing to pay for a butler service, and B, more importantly, they go home and the only thing they can talk about is that they had a private butler. And so this is an example of this wonder in the customer experience in which they've taken advantage of. They charge for it. They charge pretty heavily for it for the most part. But the benefit, the impact, the post-consumer dialogue about that is just incredible.
I think that's bang on, and there's many more podcasts that are going to come out of this, and I'm looking forward to going ahead with it. One of those is soft dollar versus hard dollar costs, and we've talked a lot about how the butler is really, it's a low actual cost with a very high perceived value. And finding the ways to create that high value for the low cost to your company, that's where competitive advantage comes from. That's what allows you to generate so much more revenue than your competitors, which then allows you to spend more to make your customers happier and create this beautiful virtuous cycle.
That's exactly it. So let's think about a challenge today. I think the challenge for me is again, if you haven't reviewed the hierarchy of horrors, do that, but then flip it around and do the same exercise on the opposite side and look at the wonders, the things that customers appreciate, the things that you already do that makes customers feel special. If you can only come up with one or two things, then you might have to say, well, what else could we be doing or could we be testing? To me, that's my challenge. First, identify them, and then ask yourself what you can do to make sure that they're happening more often, more regularly, or that all of your clients or the right segment of those clients is being exposed to them. Anything you want to add to that challenge, Sean?
So I'm just going to latch on to one word you use there, which is test. Find a single thing that you want to test out and try and offer it to your clients. So for example, if you can get back to all of your clients on average within 48 hours, but there's a few in there who want response within 1 or 2 hours, create the bat phone. Offer it with a premium price to some of your existing and new clients and see who takes you up on it. And I think you might be surprised at the kind of response you get and the amount that you're able to generate from this.
Exactly. So, okay, everybody, you've got your challenge. You've got your homework. As Sean says, test, right? Test different things. First, identify, and then test. And same with the horror side. Look at the horrors, ask yourself what you can do to reduce them, but just get a little bit more excited about what you can do to create that sense of wonder and to make those customers feel special. Sean, any last words from you today?
That's it. You guys all make me feel so special, and I thank you for that.
So closing thoughts on my end is I've got 30 seconds here. As always, you can reach out to Sean and I, noahfleming.com, hit the contact button, send us a message. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends, share it with others, and be sure to get the book that Sean and I wrote together, Dealing with Difficult Customers, How to Turn Your Most Demanding, Dissatisfied, and Disagreeable Clients into Your Best Customers. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us each and every week for another great episode of The Evergreen Show with your hosts, Noah Fleming and Sean Veltman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time on The Evergreen Show.